All right, so Mossberg has finally given us the 940 Pro Tactical. So if you don't know what this is the bigger brother with some upgrades to the original, the 930 SPX right here, which is an amazing shotgun, a semi-auto shotgun, one of my favorites. But the 940 takes it to a different level and gives us some things that the 930 may have been lacking. And some of those upgrades are going to be in the way of a better loading port and gate right here. And we're inspired by Jerry Miculek. Now, if you don't know who Jerry Miculek and who his daughter is, they are some of the fastest and best competitors out there. I don't know of too many people that are much faster than Jerry Miculek. I've had a chance to see that guy in person a couple times, and I can tell you he is every bit as fast in person that he is on camera. Before we go any further, we need some gratuitous slow motion of the new 940 Pro Tactical. All right, so if you don't know, the new 940 Pro and the 930 SPX, the older model, are semi-automatic shotguns. So they are auto-loading shotguns that operate on a gas system. So what you do is you load shells in through the tube right here. This is your magazine tube. As that is loaded, this thing is going to cycle on the gas operation system. So I will hold the bolt release here down and kind of show you what happens. As you pull the trigger on this thing, bolt is going to cycle, that loading gate will go up like it just did, pulling that next round up into the chamber. As you release the bolt, it auto loads and you are good to go for 7+1 of 12 gauge love out on the range. And I know that might be a little bit basic for some people, but a lot of people don't know that there's not just a rack style shotgun where you run the action yourself. This action is semi-auto, auto loads itself based off that gas system. So now that you know, let's talk about some other stuff on this. Well, what exactly makes this 940 Pro different from this 930 SPX that has been in my collection for well over a decade now? So they're both auto loaders, they both work on a gas system, but there are some really nice improvements when it comes to that 940 Pro. Probably one of the biggest and most noticeable differences, it is direct milled on that receiver for an optic. So it's got the RMSC style cut on there. I have the Holosun 507K in green, which I love, but it's great. It is directly attached to there, no rails, no mounting plates. As long as it is that pattern, it's gonna go on there. We also get an adjustable stock for that length of pull with some spacers in there and a very nice rubber butt pad to help those weak shoulders out there when you're just slamming this thing on the range for all 8 shells. You get an extended and kind of forward set bolt release right there. That is very nice because the original one on 930 was just a little tiny round button. So this one is a lot easier to reach than that original design. Another big change is going to be the redesign of that handguard. The handguard is much slimmer and tighter to that receiver right there. It doesn't have that big gap that the old 930 used to have, which is going to help you speed load as well if you're into quad loading or anything like that. Also, we're going to have an extended elevator on there. No more cutout on it for when you're loading those shells. That way, you're not going to be snagging your finger on there. You got a high vis anodized metal follower in there instead of the plastic one. That's going to give you a much longer life, much smoother operation. You're also going to get a much nicer enlarged and beveled loading area. So that's going to give you an advantage when you're doing those quick reloads, especially if you're going to use this in like competition. It used to be competitors would like take a grinder and mill out the front and the sides of that receiver to give themselves extra room to load those shells and not snag their fingers. So Mossberg has done this from the factory on this new 940 version, and I can tell you, being an amateur at best with a shotgun, it makes a big difference. The gas system in there has been completely redesigned, and I can tell you from having fired this right next to a 500 in the 930 at SIG Freedom Days, it makes a difference, not only in the feeling of that operation, but kind of that felt recoil. Wasn't quite the donkey kick to the shoulder that some 12 gauges can be known for, but it definitely was better than the 930 side-by-side running double-aught buck loads that were out there for testing. Out towards the front, you get a very nice M-LOK capable magazine and barrel clamp out there, so you can have all your attachments you're looking for. And one great thing about this that the 930 does not have, it is choke ready. So you can put some chokes on here if that's into your thing. You want to tighten up that pattern a little bit. Not big for me, but hey, it's an option, and options provide opportunity, and that's always good. And to top it off, you get a cool laser engraved 940 Pro logo right there, so everybody out on the range knows you're running that new. Now I know some of you out there are dying just to see some more shooting footage on this thing, and I am as well, but first, I've got to give my people that need all the specs with a little bit of music to go along with it. Well, now that we've enjoyed some elevator music and specs, how does she run? Absolute monster. It just makes me smile even thinking about just pulling that trigger 8 times with 12 gauges of freedom out there. So I had the chance, like I said, at SIG Freedom Days to run this one right next to the 930, right next to a Pump 500, and it definitely felt a lot different. So there was just something about how they've redone the gas system. Maybe it has to do with the buttstock as well, the length of pull on that pad, but it definitely felt a little bit more comfortable to shoot rapidly. So they're not uncontrollable, but I think if you've ever put more than like 100 rounds of 12 gauge down range in a day, you're probably gonna feel that for the next couple of days in your shoulder, because it has a way of loosening up your joints a little bit. One of the things I love about Mossberg, besides the fact that it has the best safety in the shotgun business right there across the top, so take notice everybody else that's still using something like down on the trigger guard, they're still a family-owned business to this day. Absolutely awesome. And I think that is just really cool that there's still some family-owned businesses out there as big as that company making things that we all enjoy. What are my favorite parts about this new 940 besides the fact that it's an absolute monster out on the range? So my top 3 things for this are going to be: 1, I love the safety on Mossbergs. And I know that's not new, but other shotguns still have like an uncomfortable safety to click back and forth in the trigger guard, like it's something from the 1800s. So I love that. It's always been one of my favorite things about the Mossberg, is having that safety right there. The next best thing about this, and it's the new part, is this mag well here. So everything in here, from that extended gate, that beveled mag well, the tighter guard right here, helps you so much when you're doing those loads, especially if you're quad loading or something like that. Getting those shells in there, not snagging your thumb on it. Because as you can see on the 930 right here, you'll see that loading gate right there has that notch right there. That notch is known as a cheese grater because it seems to catch my finger every time when you just go a little bit too deep trying to run those shells into that magazine tube. So I have goonered up my thumb more than once on that. So huge benefit to the 940 is not only that beveled magazine well in there, or that loading well right here, but that extended gate. And finally, that new gas system. So they just got it right. It runs cleaner and it runs a little bit softer. So we'll see how this goes long term. I don't expect any problems with this. I know people that have a ton of rounds through these things already, and they haven't had a single hiccup. So as long as you clean these things and take care of them, they're gonna run for you. But this new gas system supposedly doesn't have to be cleaned as often. It's kind of self-cleaning. It runs a lot longer and it runs a lot smoother. So we will see how that fares, but I have high hopes for this thing because it's gonna be my new main squeeze for when I am doing shotgun work. So with all that good stuff being said, is there anything I don't like about the 940 or that I think could be improved? And I think I'm really gonna nitpick on this because I quite honestly love this thing, the way it's set up and what they've done with it. If there was one thing I just had to, like I said, nitpick, maybe the clamp up here in the barrel and mag tube, make it out of aluminum rather than polymer. But at that point, I think I'm just being an a-hole and just nitpicking it to death because they really did a great job on here. Even with, one thing I forgot was the trigger. So I noticed out there on the range, the trigger felt quite a bit different than on my 930 and my 500. And shotguns are not known for having great triggers, but there is definitely something a little bit better on this one. It's got a little bit of slack in it on that take up, almost like a 2-stage trigger in your rifle. But that break feels really good on it. It's not creepy, it's not heavy, it's not mushy. There's just a little bit of take up and then it breaks. And that, like I said, it's pretty good because shotguns not known for having great triggers. All right, now that we know this thing's a runner and we know the new specs on this as compared to the older models, what is this 940 Pro going to cost us? So this is MSRP'd at like $1154. I just checked the site prior to filming the video, and that's a pretty good price point for what you're getting. So the cost of everything has gone way up over the past 24 months, at least from everything that I have seen, and they're probably not going to be coming down. That being said, that's the manufacturer MSRP. And I think we all know once the hype kind of dies down when something's brand new and it's on the store shelves, you can usually find it for quite a bit cheaper. But MSRP is what we're going to state here in the video because that's just what's on site. My overall thoughts on the 940 Pro Tactical from Mossberg is they killed it on this thing. So they took feedback from the market, from competitors, some of the best runners out there in the world, Jerry Michalik, people like that, and they implemented what those people modified in competition worlds, and they put it into a tactical version of a shotgun, which is awesome. So everything from that loading gate, the port, they've done everything right here to still make this an affordable, absolutely awesome option out there if you are looking for a semi-auto shotgun. And I don't know about you, but every time I've got one of these out on the range, it just brings a smile to my face. Whether we're shooting clays or somebody's getting to use it for the first time, or maybe shooting a water jug if that's your thing, clean up after yourselves out there. It's just a ton of fun. But these things are also workhorses, and you can use them for work purposes. You can use this for hunting purposes, whatever you want, even though you might want a much longer barrel if you're gonna go duck hunting with it. But it's all around just an absolutely awesome addition to your collection. Well, that is what I have for you on the Mossberg 940 Pro here today. Make sure you get subbed up, turn the notifications on, give the video a like, and let me know what is your favorite shotgun to run. Is it a semi-auto or is it a pump? Because some people still love the pumps out there. You get out there and have some fun on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.